Welcome to the High Performance Gym, the personal and business development podcast for health coaches and personal trainers. My name is Keir, former personal trainer and gym owner turned high performance coach and lifestyle entrepreneur. My mission is to help coaches develop their entrepreneurial qualities and the business to create a freedom-focused lifestyle. I believe we all have a uniqueness that we need to unleash to achieve this, and this is your genius. Each week I'll be bringing you an inspiring person or message to help you perform at a higher level so you can become a confident and resilient coach to build the business of your dreams. So thanks for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoy the show. So welcome to today's podcast. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate your time and listening to this. Really, I do. I find it such an honor that people listen to the podcast. I really do. And to me, it is just it's a kind of big honor. I actually got an email the other day saying that it was ranked 98th in the fitness podcast. I'm not quite sure how it was in the fitness podcast, but anyway, it was ranked 98th, so that's pretty good. I'm pleased with that. It kind of broke the top 100. But this is all down to you. This is kind of down to you guys, kind of listening to it. You listen to the show now, so I really do appreciate you being here. And, this is your show. I want to make this the best possible show I can. So if there's anything that you'd like me to cover that would really help you in your life and in your business, then, email me and let me know. Let me know how you find the show, and let me know if you have anything that you would want to cover. There's a show, go to the show notes. There is my emails in there. You can just click the link and just send me an email. And let's see how I can help you further, because that's kind of what this podcast is about. It's about, it's called the High Performance Gym because it's a combination of performance, high performance for you to perform at your best and to have the strategies to grow an online coaching business, an online health and coaching business. So that's why it's called the High Performance Gym, because it doesn't matter what strategies you have in place. You can have the best strategies in place, but if you are not at your optimal self, if you're not performing at your best, if you don't have the right mindset, then the strategies don't count for anything, because you've got to be able to execute those strategies. And if you are in business, but you are in business because you listen to this, then you know how challenging it is. So working on your performance, working on your personal development, your personal growth every single day, it's absolutely essential. So this is kind of why I call it the High Performance Gym, because I want you to be your best. You are the asset in your business and in your life. So making you the best, but then using the strategies to actually accelerate that. That's kind of the best way of looking at it. You are the ultimate asset, but you need these strategies to accelerate that, to create the life that you want to create. So that's why I kind of do them both. This is why you'll see I talk a lot about personal development. So we had Kevin on the other day talking about anxiety. We've had Jessica on. We had Laura on talking about money, but the mindset blocks that prevent people from making money. And I talk a lot about personal development. I talk a lot about the strategies that you can use, and that's what today's podcast is about. About the strategies that you can use when we talk about social media. But if you want a free resource to start helping you in your business right now, to help you start getting more clients into your business, you can download my free guide. So the free guide's in the show notes, and that is the 7 reasons you don't have enough clients and how to fix it fast. This is a really compelling guide. So it goes through 7 key points to why you're not getting clients into your business and how you can change that. Just download that. It's free. It's in the show notes. And so let's jump into today's podcast. So today's podcast is, which social media platform should you use? Because it's very confusing. There's a lot of social media platforms, right? But let me just, before we kind of get into this, let me just paint you a little bit of a picture. What is social media? When social media first came about, it was about socializing. If you look at Facebook, MySpace before Facebook, it was about socializing. It's not like that anymore. That is not what social media is now. Social media now is a marketing platform. You can look at it any way you want, but it's a marketing platform. It is designed now for marketers. Yes, people still socialize and they still do these types of things, but the main platform and where it's going, look at Facebook. Facebook is now delivered for marketers because there's such a big market for that. Yeah. But let's just have a look at what that is. So I'm somebody who likes to visualize. For me to understand things, I have to paint a picture. If I can't paint the picture, then I don't understand it. It takes me a long time to understand what things are. So I do this. It's like a mental thing that I do. So this is the way that I look at social media. I see Facebook as more of a newspaper because you can get long text on it. You can write as much information as you want in there. You put a caption in there. You can have an image which gets people's attention. And I see that more as a newspaper. That's how I view Facebook. Instagram, I see as a magazine. Yeah, because it's like images. It gets people's attention. Where all the celebrities hang out, right? It's where all influencers hang out. You look at a magazine, it's all photoshopped images and perfection and all these types of things. And that's the way that I see Instagram. It's like a magazine. YouTube is like your TV station. Looking back before the internet was even invented, we had TV stations, yeah, and that was so they could deliver ads, yeah, because that's what it is. The TV, you obviously have the shows, but guess what happens in between? You have adverts. And this is how people advertised. Years and years ago, they had things like infomercials, and they still have these now, infomercials. Which I'm going to kind of touch on and explain in a minute how you kind of use that now. Not infomercials specifically, but the kind of the modern way of infomercials. But yeah, YouTube's just like it's like a TV channel. You can have your own TV channel. Yeah, that is what that is. A podcast, like what I'm doing now, it's a radio station. That's what that is. A podcast is a radio station. So this is the way that I look at social media platforms. Podcasting and YouTube probably not so much a social media as such, but it's a way to deliver your message. That is what I look at. That is how I view social media. If you can see that, and then it becomes a little bit more clear of, where should you be? What should you be doing? From an organic standpoint. Now, here's the thing. Where should you start? What social media platform should you be using? Okay, that's why I wanted to highlight what social media platforms are. They are just a way to show people what you do. They're just a way to, to say to people, here I am. Yes, you can deliver your message. That is what social media is. Unfortunately, what people do is they try to build, or they spend all the time building that, like building the social media presence, doing all these types of things on social media and spending all of the time on social media. Here's the problem with that. That is not building your brand. That is not building the foundations to your business. To build the foundations to your business, you need an email list. Why do you need an email list? But you don't own social media. Like the data you get from social media, you could build a following on YouTube, right? Say you could build a following of 50,000 people. If YouTube decides to close your account down for whatever reason, you have no business. Your business is gone if you haven't built an email list. It's not to say you shouldn't build a YouTube following. What I'm trying to get across with this, the most important part is to build an email list. An email list is the biggest asset you could possibly have in your business, because an email list, you own that data. You have that data, you own that data, and you can use that data to market to people, to build relationships. I see an email list as inside your shop. So if we think about, Instagram is like Instagram, Facebook, podcasts and these types of things. That's like your shop window. Okay, that is your shop window. People come to your shop window and they see what you've got. They see what you've got on offer. They might come back if they like that. If they like what you have to offer, they might come back. When they start investing, that's when they start getting into the shop. Once they start getting into the shop, once you bring people into your shop, that's when you can start cultivating relationships. That's when you can start to really talk to people on a deeper level. Like, think about this podcast now. Like, I can't talk to you specifically on a deeper level because you're just listening to what I'm saying. We start building that relationship up when you then email me and maybe ask me a question and I can reply to that. We start then cultivating a relationship. And this is how businesses work. This is how successful businesses work. It's built on relationships, because that's so important. And I think a lot of people miss that. What they try to do is they try to build this social media following, and what they're not doing is building relationships. They get to understand the people that who you want to work with, get to understand your customers and your clients, or your potential customers and clients. Like, that is the biggest thing you can do. And this is why I love an email list, because you can do that. Thing is, when anybody, like, if you're think about Facebook, right? If you think about Facebook, people are just scrolling through Facebook all the time, all day, every day. Instagram, Facebook, scrolling through. Why are they going to stop and look at your content? Now, this is where you can get clever with it and get creative and these types of things. And the bigger you follow and you build up, the more chances people will stop and look. But with an email list, people specifically go into their emails. If they open your emails, then they're invested. They've invested their time to actually open your email and read your email. This is the most powerful way to build a relationship, apart from physically talking from someone one-on-one. This is why I see it as viewing it as people are coming into your shop. So imagine you have a shop window, someone sees your offer and go, I quite like that. And then guess what? They walk inside your shop. You can start talking to that person. Once that person's inside your shop, you can start talking to them. You can start telling them more about what you do, more about how you can help them, and then you can start listening to them, what they come back with you, and then you can start understanding them on a deeper level. Therefore, you can help them on a deeper level. And that is why building an email list is so important. But how do you build an email list? Because it can be difficult, right? Because again, like, where do you start? Well, one of the strategy that I use is actually using ads. I use Facebook ads to build an email list. Yes, you can use organic as well, but the problem is when you're using organic is it's so busy. It is so busy outside. Like, think about you standing on a high street. So think if you're kind of standing on the high street. Imagine it's a Saturday afternoon, it's really, really busy. There's just loads of people all over the place. Now, if you're just standing in the middle of a high street and you're just talking, and you might have a really good message, but you're just talking and talking and talking, why is anybody going to stop and listen to your message? Like, people will stop. Always one or two will stop and listen to your message. But how long is that going to take? How long do you have to stand there to actually start building that up? Is it going to be days, weeks, months, years? This is true. A business doesn't just get built in weeks. It does take a long time. But we want to try to kind of, especially in today's world where it's absolutely, just crowded, we need to be able to build it faster. We need to be able to get our message into the hands of the right people. And this is why I think ads are so important, because this is what you can do with an ad. You have a message. Now imagine you're standing in this high street. Instead of just standing there and shouting and trying to get your message across, okay, now what you do is you actually pinpoint that person who you want to target. So this is why understanding, I've talked about this in a lot of other podcasts and my work about identifying your ideal client and cultivating a strong message. Because if you have your ideal client in mind, you know who that ideal client is, you have a strong message and a strong offer, for that client, then what you need to do is deliver that message. But if you're just standing in the high street just talking and shouting, is that ideal client going to hear it? Now, if you then stand in that high street and then you just look and you find your ideal client, because you know exactly who that is and exactly what they look like, you know their behaviors. What you can then do is you can then just go straight up to that client and you can say, hello, I'm such and such. This is what I do. This is how I can help you solve the problem that you have. Yeah. So instead of just standing there shouting at everybody, you can just get laser focused on these individual people. You can walk through the crowd and you can start hand delivering your message to each and every person. Yeah. So you think about that. If you're just standing and shouting, you're expecting people to come to you. By you actually going out to them and delivering that, you're going to target more people because you know who you're trying to target. Yeah. It means you can just bypass the people who you don't want, who are not going to listen to you, who don't actually want what you have. You can just, you can ignore those people and you can just go straight to the source. You can go straight to the person that you're trying to target. Yeah. So think about those two scenarios. As one is just standing on the high street, just shouting, hoping people hear you. This is kind of what people are doing on social media. They're just shouting, hoping people hear them and hoping people find them. Bearing in mind is like, there's more and more people becoming on social media every single day. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's getting louder and louder and louder. The high street is getting busier and busier and busier. I'm using the high street as an example of Facebook and Instagram and things. So yes, that will eventually, you will get traction, of course you will. But if you actually just go out and deliver that message to those people and bring those people back, that is a much quicker way of doing it. That is a much more effective way of doing it, because you're not going to get lost in the crowd. You're not just going to be joining the noise. You're actually going to be going out and you're going to be hand delivering your message to the right people. And that is the beauty of ads. That is what ads do, because ads are so sophisticated these days that you can target anybody you want to target. You can target your ideal client. You can target that person on behaviors, interests, age, gender. You can do, there's so specifics that you can do. And then what Facebook does and YouTube do the same is they go out and they hand deliver your message to that person. Yeah, it's beautiful, right? It's beautiful. I mean, this is like having an employee in your business. Like imagine, say the internet doesn't exist and you hire somebody, I don't know, some expert to go out into the high street and target your people. You say, okay, dude, here's ever how much money. I want you to go and hand deliver my message in a nice envelope. And can you go and just target my ideal client? Yeah. So that person goes out while you're working on the other clients in your business. This other person, this employee, is then going out to the high street and delivering that message. And he's bringing more people into your business without you having to do anything. Yes, it's costing you money, but it doesn't cost a lot. And he's getting the clients into your business. This saves you time. This saves you so much time, like an unbelievable amount of time, because that is getting done for you in the background. And guess what? It gets done while you sleep. That guy you could employ for 24 hours. Maybe you need to employ more than one for 24 hours. But think about Facebook ads, yeah? These run for 24 hours. So even when you're sleeping, Facebook ads is working. That is working in the background. It's hand delivering your message to the right people. So you could be thinking, well, okay, that's great. Yeah, I'll hand deliver my message, but then what do I bring back in return? Like, how do I get that person back? Wait, this is the beauty of it. You don't just advertise. Again, this is what a lot of people are doing. They're just advertising, here I am, and this is me, and they're waving. And yeah, you might get a few people, but you're not giving any value. When you're delivering ads, you've got to deliver some value. You have to deliver a high value piece of content that talks directly to that person and helps them solve a problem. And this is one of the best ways to do that is through a webinar. This is what I teach on my program. On my coaching program is to do this, is to create one piece of content that you can deliver to that potential client, that person, your ideal client, and bring them into your business. Because then what you are doing then is you are building your connections, because then you give them the gift, they give you an email address in return. It's like saying it's an ethical bribe. You can kind of call it that. I don't like the word bribe. I think that's a really wrong way, but it kind of is like an ethical bribe. It's like, okay, I have this kind of thing that'll really help you. There you go. Can I have your email address in return? Okay. So by that, you're building that relationship. That piece of content, they go away and then look at, and they're kind of, like, especially if it's a webinar, for example, they're looking at this webinar and they're going, oh wow, like you can really help me. You really understand who I am, and you really understand the problem that I've got. And they're then invested into you because they think it's amazing that you understand them on a deeper level. And you do, because it's your ideal client. You do understand them on a deeper level. So what you can then do is that person then comes back to you, they come into your shop, yeah, and then you start building that relationship. And that's an amazing process. It's such an amazing process, because every client that you bring, it's your ideal client. It's somebody who wants to invest into you, and you can bring them into your shop, and then you can convert them into a paying client. Like, it's just amazing. And like, you do have to look at this and kind of think, all right, do I want to sacrifice time, or do I want to sacrifice money? To me, my time is so important. I can be so much more productive in building my business and helping the clients that I've got. That, to me, that is being productive. Yeah. If I'm just spending all day posting on social media, it's like me just going out to high street and shouting, hoping somebody listens. Now, is that worth my time? I don't think it is, personally. I would rather pay someone to go out and find people for me, and bring them back, so I can then build the relationships. So then I can then build my business. So then I can, create this thing that helps solve people's problems, because that's what your business does. It helps to solve people's problems. But if you're just spending all of your time just shouting on all these platforms, then you're going to dilute yourself. You're not going to be effective. Your time's not going to be effective. It's really not going to be effective. So that was my intake. That doesn't make sense. That was my insights on, which platform should you use? Like, which platform should you use? There's no right or wrong way on which platform you should use. Say if you're using organic. If you are using organic platforms, then, for me, it's just a case of where does your ideal client hang out? Go on there. Go and use that. But that should be a secondary thing. Like, if you're using that as your prime focus, then understanding to build your organic following, it's going to take a lot of time. A lot of time. Whereas if you can start using ads to then, and I say ads, it is technically advertising, but I like to think of it more as not an advertisement, but as a way is to deliver your message. So in the technical terms, it's an advert, but it's a way to deliver your message. Essentially, you're giving somebody, you're employing someone to go and deliver your message so you can start building a relationship. That's how I view it. Again, I like to view things and see things as they are, as opposed to the terms that they're giving them. Because you think about an ad, you just think, oh, what's just an ad? I'm just going to slap something on there. You think of a billboard. You think of, buy one, get one free. You think of these types of things. That's like the old school advertising. Now it's all about, it's going to the market. Okay, it's marketing. But it's not so much marketing, it's going to the market. It's you going out to the market and bringing that person back into your business. That is the key. That is the fundamentals of building your business. Because guess what? Your business isn't going to build in 6 weeks. It takes time. It takes commitment. It takes attention, but it takes effective strategies. And if you kind of think on this now, and yeah, I've been on social media for a while, I'm not really getting much of a traction, then, it's because it's ineffective. Like, if you look at the people who have all these massive followings, they're not making the money through social media because there's not a high conversion rate. People are just on social media now because they just like to flick, they like to browse, they don't like to invest, they just want to be there and just look and browse and, they'll flick around. But when you can get to your ideal client and you can talk to those specifically, that is when the game changes. That is when the game changes and you develop your business. And it's just, it's such an amazing concept. So that was an intake on my Man, why do I keep saying intake? Why do I keep saying intake? That was my insights into which social media platform you should use. Okay, so what were the takeaways? So the first one was, like, focus on one piece of content. Focus on one really good piece of content, yeah? And then deliver it to your ideal client. Again, using Facebook ads as an example. Deliver it to the right person, because that is such an effective way to get your message into the right person's hand. Build your list, yeah? So even if that person doesn't invest in you straight away, that doesn't matter, because what you're doing is you're building them and you bring them into your shop. You're putting them onto your email list, yeah? You're bringing them into your shop. You can then start cultivating relationships. You start using your email list. Like, I'm such a fan of using your email list. People have email lists and they don't even use them. It's like, that's the best way to talk to your clients, because when they click on your email, they're invested. They're going to sit down and they're going to read your email. Like, I have people on my email list. Some people, they just spam me and I just delete them. But the people who offer real value, I will sit and I will read their emails. I actually emailed one of the guys I use for copywriting. He's called Mike Samuels. He's an amazing guy copywriting. Now, I've been on his email list for years. I've invested in some of his programs because I love copywriting. It's such an effective tool for marketing as well, and helps me with my writing. But, like, again, with Mike, I noticed that I hadn't seen his emails for about a month. So I actually emailed him yesterday and said, "Oh, look, Mike, I haven't been getting your emails." And he come back and says, "Oh, look, I'm sorry about that." He says, "For some reason it's bounced." Yeah, because I'm invested in his work. I like opening his emails and I'll read his emails. And guess what? When he's got a product, when he has a new offer coming out, then I'll invest. Like, he is my go-to for copywriting. So when he brings something out, I invest into him. Why? Because I'm invested into what he does. I'm invested to the information that he gives me. He emails twice a week. I don't read every email, twice a week. Like I said, I haven't read his emails for a month. But then I'll go through a period and I'll read a lot of his emails. The point is, his emails are worth reading. I go in and I read his emails. He has built that relationship with me, not because we're best friends and live next door to each other, but because I read his emails. And that is why we build that relationship. And that is why I trust what he does. I like what he does. I like his values. I like everything that he stands for. And I've got that through his emails. He's on social media as well, but I don't look at his social media. I don't go on social media a lot. I only use social media for business purposes. That's the only reason I use it. I go in and I'll build relationships through that, through maybe my Facebook group that I've got, or message people who have maybe shown an interest. That is the only reason that I use social media. I put the odd post up now and again, but mainly I use my emails because that is where the relationships happen. It really is. So yeah, build your list. Like, that is the biggest takeaway from it, is build your list. Make sure you have a list. If you focus on social media and all your time spent there, honestly, you're better off spending 80% of your time doing your emails, because that data you own, that data is yours. That will never be taken away from you unless that person unsubscribes from your email list, and that's cool. They have the right to do that. Otherwise, that is your data. You can use that as long as you're using it in an ethical way and you're not just spamming people with rubbish and promotions like what a lot of people do. Buy one, get one free, 50% off, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Black Friday, Blue Monday, I don't know, Cyber Monday, whatever it is. When you kind of do all these things, you're just getting in people's faces and just they get sick. When you tell stories and you actually build a good relationship with people through email, that changes the game completely. It really does. So yes, I hope that was insightful. I hope that was opened up some more avenues for you, give you some focus on where you can go with this, and stop being overwhelmed with social media. Like, it's getting so busy up there. It really is, and it's not getting any better. It's not. It's getting busier and busier and busier and busier. You've got to change your strategies. You've got to change your tactics. You've got to be more creative with your ideas. You've got to, and this is the best idea. This really is the best idea. This is a proven way of doing it. It works. It's tried and it's tested, and it works. And it saves you so much time. And this is one of the biggest things people struggle with, is time. They don't have enough time. They don't have enough time because they're wasting the time. They're wasting the time on ineffective strategies. They're wasting the time doing things that don't work. And posting all day on social media, there's like the big influencers like, Gary Vaynerchuk. I love Gary. I love Gary's work. Telling you to kind of post multiple times a day. Like, unless you have a team to do that, which is great, by the way. If you've got a team to do that, then that works, because you're not doing it. Like, you have a team to then go and do that on social media. They can just do all your social media for you. You don't have to do anything. Then that works. But if it's you that has to do it, I'm guessing you listen to this now, it's just you and your business, then do you have time to do all that? Do you have time to be posting 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day on social media? Do you have time to then do TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, podcasting, blogs, Snapchat, whatever it is? Do you have time to do all of these things? I don't. I don't have time to do all these things. I've got a life to live. I've got a family. I don't want to be spending my whole life, selling my soul to social media. That's the way that I see it. You're selling your soul to social media when there is better strategies. There's so much better strategies. Strategies that will, yes, cost you a little bit of money, but the return of investment is much, much higher than trading your time for money. Think about it from this respect. If you spend £300 on £300 a month on a Facebook ad, but in return that gave you a client for £1,500 or £2,000, like, that's a big return of investment, right? Like, that's a huge return of investment. That's huge, and you haven't actually had to do anything to go and get that client apart from put £300 in for that month to get that return of investment. Now, would you rather put £300 a month in and get that £1,500 back, or would you rather just stand and shout and shout and shout and shout and probably get nobody? Yeah, I know what I'd rather do. So yeah, that was kind of that was my insights to social media. So I hope that was insightful. I would love to talk more about this. I would love to kind of hear your thoughts on it, and I would love to hear more about what you're thinking of the content that I'm delivering. So thank you. As always, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. I do. I mean, this podcast, this episode now has gone for half an hour. This is half an hour of your time that you've invested. Like, that to me is, that's huge. Like, you're investing your time into listening to this. So at the very least, I hope I can give you something back that helps you. I really do. So let me know how I can improve it. Let me know how I can help you on a deeper level. Thank you for being here, and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you for listening to the show today. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you being here. If you would like some free resources to help you with your business, then click in the show notes. There is some free training, and there's also a link to my free group. If you could also share this podcast with anybody that you think would benefit from it, because this helps us actually develop the podcast and spread our message to a wider audience. So that would be very, very grateful if you could do that. And leave us a comment. Let me know how you are actually finding the show, and how we can best serve you. So thank you for being here today. Click on the link in the show notes, and I hope to see you in my free group.